you know. I'm going to talk about tourism, but I'm going to stick to a very niche field of tourism, which is called as ecotourism. Yeah. Does anybody know what ecotourism is? Vaguely, can anybody tell me what ecotourism is? Don't bother about the answer to be stupid. Answers are never stupid. It's only the questions that are stupid. So please answer. Does anybody know what ecotourism is? Anyone? Okay, we all know what tourism is, right? The word eco means ecology. Ecology is nothing but your environment. Okay? And environment is nothing but the world, the beautiful planet that we live in. And believe me guys, I have traveled the length and breadth of this country. I've also been abroad, and I've been to the northeast for the first time in my life. Like Sanjeev, I've been here in, I'm visiting this place for the first time. And Nagaland is beautiful. I think beautiful would be a very small, subtle word to use, but last 3 days I've been just doing, wow, this is amazing. Wow, look at this side. I've been trying to take my camera out of the car. I've been telling Akum to stop the car at places and just take photos. So you guys are very, very lucky to have you been born here and live a life over here. You're breathing oodles of fresh oxygen. And believe me, if you come to Bombay, Bombay is all about glamour and Bollywood and the films and everything, and it all looks nice. But you'll get sick very soon. There's pollution, there's a lot of traffic, and you might just want to say, this is not for me, I'm going back to Nagaland. Anyways, I'm going to talk about ecotourism. I'll start off with a few quotes, okay? This one is by a very famous author by the name of Mark Twain. He says, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than the ones that you did. Okay? So many a times, when I talk to my grandfather, when I talk to my grandmother, they always keep telling me, I was thinking of doing a world tour, and I had the money, but I didn't. And now I've got arthritis. Now I've got problems with my heart, and I cannot even move out of my bed. So the essential thing with this quote is for you to do it. Nike. The brand Nike, right? You have shoes. Their logo is just do it. And you should follow that. If you think something is right, if you think you want to do that, you pursue that. Yeah? Next slide. There's another very good quote by Muhammad. He's also a great philanthropist. Don't tell me how educated you are. Tell me how much you've traveled. I'll give you my experiences, but I can tell you one thing right now. When you travel, you gain a lot of experience. Okay? Right now you are in a small town, Mokokchung, and you are in Naga, and you must have gone a little beyond this town. But you are confined to the culture, you're confined to the way businesses are done, you're confined to meeting people of the same tradition. When you go out, you will realize that world is very different. That same thing happened with me. I started traveling almost about 12 years back. And believe me, I understood that I was so much confined in my comfort zone in Bombay, where you're getting out of your AC car, getting into an AC office, again getting into an AC car, back at home, and life ends there. And the world is moving so fast, people are going to the moon. I wish I can start trips where I can say 45,000 rupees a trip to moon and back. I wish I can do that. You never know. After 10 years, maybe that's possible. Yeah. Next. So this is basically a photo of just for you guys to get an idea. I work with a lot of kids, kids of your age and a little younger, a little older. But I like to work with kids because, believe me, kids is where the future is. I like to call you guys bacha party, because you're bachas. But the reason I do that is because there's a lot of hope with the bachas. The Buddha party, I'm 34. Anything beyond 30, with all due respect to my friends here, is a little hopeless. Okay? The reason why I say this is, when you mature, unfortunately when you mature as a human, your level of greed, due to certain circumstances, obviously, you get married, you have children, you have to look after your family. So you obviously get so entangled into earning money and looking at life in just the most routine way that all the juices of life, all the beauty of life, all the real things in life are totally forgotten upon. So I like to work with kids. I take them out. I work with almost about 26 schools. Most of them are international schools in Bombay. And I take them to a lot of places which are not your stereotypical destinations like Goa or Europe or Kerala, no. I like to take them to places which are unknown, unexplored, and I'm sorry, and places that you probably see on Discovery Channel or Animal Planet, and show them the real stuff, you know. There's another good saying, and I picked this saying because I think this resonates very well with the Naga culture. It says, we abuse land because we regard it as a commodity belonging to us. When we see land as a community to which we belong, we may begin to use it with the love and respect. I met a few elder people. I was, in a very small village just before Makucham, and I got a chance to talk with the elders. And out of the 3 or 4 elders that I talked, most of them were just complaining about how the new generation is losing out on the culture, on the traditions that they were always imbibed in. And you guys are looking at newer opportunities in bigger metro cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Mumbai. That's all good to do. That's all good to do. Nobody should stop you from your pursuit of progress. But always stick to the roots, guys. Because when you stick to the roots, the values are strong, the principles are strong, and you will always be happy. Eventually, in whatever you do in life, it would not matter if you earn 1 lakh rupees by the end of the month. What would really matter is when you go to sleep, you should get into a deep sleep within 2 minutes. Sleep of contention. That is what real happiness is. Yeah. I'll just talk about myself now. This is the name of my company. It's called as the Detour Company. The word detour means if I'm walking in a straight line, without anybody telling me, I just take a right into nowhere. And I don't know what that place is. Or I would take a left into some place that I don't know what it's going to be. So ideally what I'm doing is I'm taking a detour from the normal. And the same thing happened with me. I was a backbencher. You know what a backbencher is? In school, yeah, sir's laughing here. He very well knows what a backbencher is, but I was the backbencher. All the backbenchers have stood up now from their sleep. They want to listen to me. But the backbenchers is a very, very unique and niche sort of group. We always dwell into the learnings that are happening within the bench and not what the sir or the professor is teaching, usually. So I was one of them. I was very naughty, very notorious. I was always, being beaten up by my mom and dad for all the trouble that I gave them. It was crazy, believe me. Being my parents was not the easiest job in the world. And I was supposed to be, I was expected to do well in studies. I wasn't good in studies, I'll be very frank. Yeah. In fact, math was my biggest enemy. I still don't understand what is X and Y. I still think they're the last 2 alphabets of our alphabetical order. But maths was really bad. I flunked a couple of times, and unfortunately my parents were not well-to-do. They were bank employees, so they expected me to do better because obviously they didn't have the support of finances that, even if I didn't do well in my exams, there was a business which I could take care of. They really made my life hell. They forced me to study, which I didn't want to, but I did. Education, like Sanjeev mentioned, is very, very important. You need to have education to stand competitively with your competitors in whatever you do in life, be it business, be it office, be it anything. So it is important. I finished my graduation. I did my master's, also MSc in Applied Medical Sciences, which is basically to do with drugs and medicines that you get. I worked for 6 years in companies like TCS, Novartis, and Cognizant, all big names. And when I was, my last corporate job that I did in Cognizant, one night I was sitting at home, the whole night I could not sleep. And I was just wondering, what is happening? You know, it's a 9 to 5 job. I go in the morning, I come back in the evening. On Saturdays, Sundays, I'm making up for the lost sleep. And I said, this is not the life I wanted to live. I want to go out there, I want to see the world. And photography was a hobby then. So I said, you know, I want to do more of this. I did not have any plans in my mind. What my friends said that, you know, they always knew about what they wanted to do. But I frankly at that point of time was thinking like probably a guy from 6th standard who obviously doesn't know, you know, some relative comes, beta, what do you want to become? So I'll say, doctor. Or an engineer. Or maybe, you know, if he's too confident, he would probably become an aeronautic engineer. I had nothing, I had no clue. And this was when I was about 30, you know, in 30 years of age. I had no clue. I left my job. I gave my papers and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I was sitting 2 years at home, 2 months at home. Then I joined an NGO, which was basically working for, if you must have seen a lot of Save the Tiger posters. Yeah, so I joined that NGO. I had a huge salary back in corporate and I came down to a very small amount, you know, just so that I could live a little satisfactorily. But that was okay because I wanted to be content in life. I started working for an NGO. Then I understood that, you know, travel and wildlife tourism is something that I can tap on because, one, it is my passion, and two, I would love for others to see the things that I see, you know. So if I've come to Nagaland here, we are now planning with Akum, we are now planning to bring a lot of people from Bombay and Pune, metro cities, to come here, to have them see the Hornbill Festival, to have them see the festival which happens here in May, and basically generally experience the Naga life. So this is how, you know, things spanned out. The Detour company, like I've already said, I take out people from their regular lives and give them the experience of wildlife, nature in its most raw form, and you know, there are things where they can become a farmer for a day, they can experience the culture, the dance and other things. So we do that. I work with a lot of school kids also. Next slide. Next slide. Again, next slide. So that's me, by the way, in the picture. I was very thin at that time, I guess. But what I'm going to do next, is I'm going to run you through some beautiful pictures. All the guys who are sleepy back there, I can see one really sleepy. Are you awake? Yes. So I want you guys to look at these pictures. These are very beautiful pictures. Some of them have won awards at National Geographic level and other, you know, sort of competitions. So here you see this is a 65 feet Buddha statue, and this is in a monastery called Thiksey in Ladakh. Next. Again, this is another monastery in Ladakh. I do Ladakh a lot. I love that place. It's very beautiful. This is another monastery. This is. Have you heard of Dal Lake in Srinagar? Yes. So this is a early morning sunrise picture from Dal Lake. Just hold on to that. Slowly. This I don't know why you all did the wow. Was it for the horse or the mountains? For the horse, obviously you guys must be seeing a lot of mountains. This is a domesticated horse. It's not a wild horse, but this place is called as the Switzerland of India. It's called as the Aru Valley, which is in Pahalgam, where the Amarnath Yatra starts from. If you guys, you know, can relate. Next, you know what bird this is? Yeah, these are flamingos. Yes, somebody said that. So these are flamingos and very, very beautiful birds. They migrate, okay, from Nairobi. There's a lake called Nakuru where they come to India to breed. It's a very beautiful photo. I've taken this in Maharashtra. Next. This is a very, very random photo. This was in the summers. I could see these set of trees only in the summer because in the monsoon, the water rises above the trees. You know, so you can't see the trees. But again, It's a ground-dwelling owl. I don't know what you call an owl in Nagamese. What do you call an owl? She just called me Olu. So are you taking note of this? Okay. It's a ground-dwelling owl, but you know, to take this photo, I had to lie on the ground, okay? And I had to expose myself so badly that I had corns all over my body. Luckily, I've got a good inch of blubber over here, so I was saved, you know. But you got to do all these things, and it's quite exciting. Wildlife photography, believe me, guys, is one of the most exciting things that you can pursue. Next. This one was on the tree, so I was safe, you know, in my car. Next. What is this? Anu. Yeah, it's called as the sloth bear, and if you see closely, it has two cubs. There's one cub here and there's one cub here. And what it's actually doing is trying to sniff and mark its territory. Everybody wants to have a house of their own. We have nameplates. These guys do the sniffing and territory marking in their own way. Smallest, yes, smallest kingfisher found in India. Yeah, it's called as the Oriental dwarf kingfisher. Next. Portrait, yeah. You may laugh, but you're going to become something like this. Yeah. You know what is this? And what is peacock? Yes, it's the national bird of India. Unfortunately, a bird that cannot fly much. Yeah. But beautiful picture. This is the leopard. Do we have leopards in Nagaland? No? You're lucky. I've had some very bad encounters. Hold on to that. This is a crocodile. Obviously, everybody knows that. But do you know when I click this? You all have heard about Goa, right? Yes. You know what Goa is known for? Beach parties, beer, and girls, and foreigners, and all those things, right? Yes. But there is the crocodile in its most natural form. You know. So, what I'm trying to tell you is, as citizens, we are not aware of the richness and the biodiversity that India has. And a career that I've chosen in tourism lets me explore these valuable gems. This is an osprey. It's a bird that preys on fishes. Next. Again, a grey heron. It's landing to catch on a fish. Next. It's just in a flight. This is also an award-winning picture. It's a gull. It's a migrant. It's not found in India. Next. Same gull holding a fish in its mouth. Are you able to see this? Next. What is this? This is a delicacy in Thailand and Bangkok. Okay, but it's called as the monitor lizard. Yeah, it's a huge lizard and very beautiful. Again, this is a leopard. This picture.
I guess that was a delicacy here as well.
I don't want to get there. I don't want to get there. So. This is a leopard, and if you see, I could manage to click the moon and the background, and this is also an award winner. Just pop onto that. You know, the buck stops here. Everything comes down to the tiger. Yeah, because tiger is a national animal. We end up, when we save the tiger, what we end up doing is saving the forest and saving all the other animals within that. But believe me, guys, I must have seen tigers, I don't even remember how many times, in the wild. I'm not talking about the zoo. I must have seen a tiger maybe more than about 200 times. But even today, when I see a tiger, my heart skips a beat. It is very charismatic, and the whole environment, when you are breathing the same air as the tiger, is just, you can't explain it in words. You guys should see a tiger at least once in your lifetime. Some pictures of tigers, keep going. This was very close to the vehicle. Keep going. This is how we do the tiger safaris. You know, we go in an open jeep, and fortunately for us, this tiger was between the two jeeps, and we got very good shots. Next. So these are the kind of trips that I do. You know, I take people out, people who want to do photography of birds, who want to photograph the tiger, and this is the way we roll. This is me without the crop. Yeah, and these are the people, you know, just for you guys to have an idea what ecotourism is all about. These are regular people, you know, who just want to get out of their regular routine life and enjoy nature in its raw form. So this is how we do it. Next. I'm going to end this presentation here, but this is a very, very, very nice Red Indian saying. You know, there's a clan in America, South America, which is also, by the way, sort of getting extinct. But the saying is really beautiful. It says, only when the last tree has died, and the last river has been poisoned, and the last fish has been caught, will we realize that we cannot eat money. You get that? So money is not everything. Eventually what really means are the values, your family, the place that you live in, you conserve that and be happy. That's about it. Next slide. Thank you.
Question.
Okay.